Time now for the Bud Light Kentucky Basketball Postgame Show on ESPN Louisville Plus. Cats coverage also presented by Cox's and Evergreen Liquors, your neighborhood liquor store. Kentucky branded, your home for all things Kentucky. Carriage Ford, best by a country mile. Bear Nose Pizza, yeah, it's that good. BJ Heating and Cooling, call the experts you can trust. Barnes Auto Service, reliable repairs from bumper to bumper. Ale 8, Kentucky's original soft drink since 1926. And UPS Jobs, apply today. UPSJobs.com/WorldPort. Now, here are your hosts, TJ Walker and Zach Cantrell.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday indeed. December 20th, 2025. This is the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show, ESPN Plus version. Folks, we can curse. Believe it or not, we can curse today. I am TJ Walker, joined with Zach Cantrell. The college football playoff is on the big station, so we're moving on over to ESPN Plus for today's post-game show, and it's going to be a fun one, folks, because Kentucky beat St. John's. This was very similar to the Indiana game, different in how it all played out, but similar in the tone of the game. Kentucky looks totally lifeless. The nightmare season continues in the first half. Truly just some of the worst offense you've ever seen with the name Kentucky across the chest. And then in the second half, it's like, what in the world happened? Although we know what happened. Jalen Lowe, a Festivus miracle is what Tom Leach said on the radio broadcast. A Festivus miracle. Jalen Lowe returns for the second half. Jaden Quaintance is just a different type of animal, Zach Cantrell. He is just a different build. He's a different athlete, and he's exactly what Kentucky's missing. You throw in Jalen Lowe. JQ is back in the fold, and this Kentucky team, it's a whole new ball game going into SEC play, and that was a second half domination. UK fans should be excited. I'm personally excited.
They absolutely should be. I mean, when you look at that first half, it was kind of reminiscent of the first half against Indiana. It's been reminiscent of the bad basketball that this team has played at various points throughout the year. But that second half, I mean, you throw Jaden Quaintance out there, it seemed like every possession he's either scoring or he's getting a rebound. The energy was completely different when he was out there. Jalen Lowe, I thought, in the first half when he hurt his shoulder, it's, oh no, here we go again. And this is going to be a season killer because, I mean, you don't mess around with shoulder injuries, but he comes back and he actually makes an impact in the second half. Otega, how about him stepping up with 20 points? You got to give him a lot of credit. I think Malachi Moreno in the first half was pretty good. The second half, buoyed by Jaden Quaintance coming back. I mean, those two are a rebounding tandem. This is the version of Kentucky that you want to see the rest of the way. And the non-conference was not great by any stretch of the imagination, but by beating Indiana and by beating St. John's, you get a win over a longtime rival, and you get a win over, obviously, your former coach and Rick Pitino. So you've got a little bit of momentum as you head into the new year. You've got two solid wins. 8-4 is not a great record, but it's not one that has you in any danger of missing the NCAA tournament right now. And a neutral court win against St. John's is going to go a long way with the NCAA tournament resume. So the best of all worlds for Kentucky in that second half, probably the best half of basketball they've played all season, especially against a good opponent. And maybe we're starting to find a little bit of an identity with this team where it's a little bit more bully ball. It's better defense, closing out, forcing, St. John's. They're not a great outside shooting team, forcing them to take a lot of threes, and that's not their game. And they were able to get rebounds, or able to get stops, and they're never going to be a great three-point shooting team, but can they make enough threes? And I think they made enough threes that St. John's defense was uncomfortable. But we've been talking about JQ and Jalen Lowe being healthy all year and what a difference it would make. And we saw it in that second half. And that's something for Kentucky fans to be excited about. We'll see what happens when SEC play comes around. But they really, really needed these last two wins. And it's changed kind of the course of how we think of this season, where if they were 7-5, if they'd split them, it would be, oh no, tournament bubble, this is bad because you only had one win against a quality opponent. You string together back-to-back wins against good teams. You got something, you got a little bit of momentum to build off of as you enter SEC play.
This is huge. I really think in a lot of ways, and boy, is it convenient for Mark Pope and Kentucky fans, myself included, but I think it erases a lot of all the bad things that happened, because you can legitimately say we weren't healthy. That wasn't the Kentucky team that they are now. When they got pounded against Gonzaga, when they lost to UNC at home, the game against Michigan State, if it's this Kentucky team, those games go differently. And that's not just fan speak. That is factual. I don't think anybody could argue that. It looks like a different Kentucky team with Jalen Lowe and JQ. Now we need to talk about a couple things. Jalen Lowe was in for literally not even a Rick Pitino 15 seconds before he got hurt again. That felt like the epitome of Kentucky basketball for the last 10 years, for the last decade. That Jalen Lowe injury, it just felt like it summed it up. A lot of excitement, a lot of optimism. It's time to go. Here he goes. He's out on the court. This is going to be great. Oh, he's hurt. Don't get excited. Everything that you were pumped up for, it's all gone just like that in the snap of a finger. I legitimately felt in that moment that Kentucky's season was over, that it was just that UK was not going to have a point guard the rest of the way. And we have seen this team without a point guard. And it is truly just some of the worst offense that you're ever going to see a Kentucky basketball team play. It's not fun. It's hard to watch. Pope has no answers. I thought that the strategy in the first half, even after Lowe went out, was terrible. Press, or not press, but push. After you break the press, keep going. They would break the press, and sometimes they wouldn't, but they would break the press. And I imagine Pitino was just smiling like the Grinch over there, being like, this is a win-win. Either they don't break the press and we get the ball. That's good. That's good in basketball. Or they do break the press, and for some reason, Otega Owe or Denzel Aberdeen or whatever guard it wasn't Lowe because he was injured, they would pull up. They would have a lot of momentum. They'd beat their guy. They'd get it across half court, and then they'd take it to the perimeter and just turn around and pull up like a horse in a race. And for the life of me, I don't have too much hair. We're streaming today, but I don't have too much hair to pull out, Zach. And I was just wanting to pull out whatever hair I had left because what are you doing? You're telling me, and I get it. Like, well, what do you want me to do? Drive into a bunch of bigs and hope for a foul call? I've seen your half-court offense without Jalen Lowe. Yes, that's exactly what I'd prefer you to do. I wanted them to be aggressive. I wanted them to pick up the tempo. I wanted them to pick up the pace, and they refused to do it in the first half. And I was getting so frustrated with Mark Pope specifically because once again, Zach Cantrell, it was another, 4 or 5 minute stretch where Kentucky didn't make a field goal. And instead of going and attacking the rim, they were settling for this half-court offense, and by the time that they had settled into it, there was only about 15 seconds left in the shot clock, so then they had to rush in their terrible half-court set. So I'm happy the second half worked the way that it did. This UK basketball season really has just been like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. On Kentucky Roll Call, we call him Midnight Shyamalan, and it's just been twists and turns, and when you're expecting one thing, the other thing happens. That first half was just some terrible basketball, just like it was in the Indiana game, Zach. That second half made you believe that could legitimately turn into a top 10 team if they can stay healthy. But that's the thing with Lowe. It's just so concerning that he was out there for no time at all. Didn't look like he had taken a hard hit or fallen to the ground or anything like that. And you blink and he's going back to the tunnel. So he could get hurt at any moment. I think a conversation when we get back on an actual post-game show where callers can call in, and we're going to get to hear from some callers today, and maybe Justin can chime in and tell people how they can tune in if they're interested in getting in touch with the show. But I imagine a big conversation is going to be, all right, well, do you save him for big games? Do you not use him, or do you have to be strategic in how much you use Jalen Lowe? And it's a fair question. Like, do you even put him out there against Bellarmine? Because what's even the point? But it does feel like you could play him against Bellarmine and everything could be fine. And then he goes out against Alabama and the same thing happens that it did tonight. Just the wrong screen. He hits it at the wrong angle. And just like that, he's out of the game again. But thank goodness that he was able to return. UK is a different team with him. And then, like I mentioned, Jaden Quaintance is just, I don't say this negatively, but UK used to be filled with guys like Jaden Quaintance. That used to be the entire roster, 1 through 5, were dudes like JQ. He stood out. I don't love it that he stood out, but I do love it in a different sense. He just, again, he's a different type of athlete. He's a different type of build. That dunk that he had that I tweeted on the show tweet or the show post on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, That was so effortless. And you saw Malachi Moreno just yank a layup in the first half. And I didn't think that JQ was going to miss the layup, but I just thought, all right, he got that rebound. He's going to lay it back in. Bada boom, bada bing. No, he just crammed it like it was nothing. It looked like he hardly even jumped and just threw that bad boy in like it was trash. Fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch him develop. UK needs him. He is the difference maker. Jalen Lowe as well as Zach Cantrell. But with those two guys, if they're going to stay healthy, if they are healthy, it can be a different season for UK.
Yeah, it changes the ceiling for this team when you've got both of those guys healthy. If you have one of them healthy, that's one thing. But if you've got both of them healthy, Jalen Lowe, it's going to be a game-by-game thing, it seems like, for him. Because, I mean, the one hit, the one wrong hit, and we're going to be right back to square one. Where with Jaden Quaintance, of course, coming off a torn ACL, which is a pretty serious injury that it takes time for him to come back from. But he sure looked explosive in this game. I mean, he's running up and down the court. He's blocking shots. He's rebounding the ball. Duncan, he certainly looked explosive. Didn't look like a guy who just tore his ACL. And so that's ultimately where this team is. And it's about, the ceiling of this team is about Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance being healthy. And if those guys are healthy, this is probably a team that has a slight opportunity maybe to get to the second weekend. We don't truly know what the ceiling of this team is quite yet. Round Daddy said, thanks for not filming in the Ohio State room. No, that's upstairs. No, this is my dad's music room down here. But yeah, the ceiling of this team is basically going to be about those two guys being healthy. But it's also going to be whether Denzel Aberdeen can step up. It's going to be about whether, Colin Chandler didn't really do anything today. Who's going to be that other guy who makes an impact? And today, I thought Cam Williams made a really good impact in this game. Defensively, he was able to step up a little bit. He knocked down some shots, hit a couple of threes, drove the ball to the basket. The energy was through the roof with him. So you're kind of looking for that third, fourth guy to really step up and be a constant presence. Malachi Moreno, I think, has a chance to do that. But I was really impressed with Kentucky defensively in the second half. This is the second straight game they've made significant defensive adjustments, and they held their opponent under 30 points in the second half for the second straight week, because I think they gave up 29 in the second half of this game. So defensively, much improved. They were able to force St. John's out of their comfort zone. They kept making them shoot threes. They played a lot of great press defense. They were able to force turnovers. That's the version of Kentucky that you want to see over the course of a 40-minute game. Now, the three-point shooting, obviously, that has to be improved. But we can be a little bit more doom and gloom, and we can talk more about, their non-conference schedule wasn't particularly good. I'm not going to do that today. This is a good win in a non-conference game in a neutral site place against Rick Pitino. That's not nothing. And you now have that. You've got the Indiana win to play off of. What I think this should be more of a positive show today because, we finally see what this Kentucky team can potentially be. They're not there yet, but we see what's out there.
Yeah, and it's exciting. Again, it could change at any moment because it's just night and day when this team has a point guard or doesn't have a point guard. And for what it's worth, pretty much any team in the country would be the same way, except most teams have backup point guards. For some reason, Mark Pope was like, we're going to go 11, maybe 12 deep, but not any of them are going to be true backup point guards. How about that? And my guess is he just thought Aberdeen would be able to run the show a little bit more if he had to, because he did it at Florida in stretches and in small stints. Maybe he thought Jasper Johnson would be able to run the show a little bit more. But if you have Jalen Lowe and he's able to stay out there, it fixes so many of your offensive woes just because he can create a little something out of nothing. And even though three-point shooting is never going to be a strength for this Kentucky team because they just don't have the quantity or quality of shooters, although Cam Williams, I think he's starting to wake up. You saw the blueprint. They thought Cam Williams was going to be the Cam Williams you got today throughout the entire season. Unfortunately, it's just taken a little bit longer for him to get going. But if he gets going, you saw him make that 4-footer, 25-footer. That was huge. That was a big three in that moment. But here's one thing to remember. Jalen Lowe himself isn't a great three-point shooter. He was able to hit one today. I think if you can get one from him a game, that would be great. And anything more than that is just an added bonus. But you saw him get other guys open. That play he had to get Colin Chandler, that no-look pass to the corner, Colin has to hit that shot, but it's the player that you want shooting that shot. Jalen Lowe will make this team a better three-point shooter, even though it's not filled with great three-point shooters. It's just he will find guys that are wide open who are set and ready to shoot. Jalen Lowe is the key, and obviously Jaden Quaintance is a game changer as well. He is Malachi Marino and Brandon Garrison. I thought both played well, but that's what you need out of them. Good backup minutes. Hey, when you're in there, play hard. Effort needs to be top notch. Maybe block a couple shots if you score a little bit here and there, but rebound, play defense, and play hard. And then we'll get in the star, the NBA draft pick, the lottery pick, Jaden Quaintance, who just is a difference maker. You saw St. John's in the first half. St. John's was giving UK what UK did to IU. They were just bully balling them, and UK was picking up a lot of fouls. And then Jaden Quaintance, he made his impact in the game. And guess what? Zuby couldn't push JQ. He tried. He huffed and he puffed and he blew, but JQ wasn't moving an inch. He wasn't moving an inch, Zach Cantrell. No. He's just a different type of dude. So with Jalen Lowe, with JQ, this can be the team that you thought. It allows everybody else to play their more fitting role of role player. And again, Otega Owe, he was never the star on last year's UK team. He was a complementary piece where, all right, we're going to stretch UK is going to try to stretch the floor. We're going to extend the floor and guard the perimeter. All right, you guard the perimeter too much, then you're going to have Otega just blow by you and dunk. This year, it's just been too one-dimensional with him just trying to do everything by himself. I actually thought it was a pretty solid Otega game. That's not a coincidence that other players played well, and then he slid into a good complementary role player role. This team can be something, Zach. I'm excited about it. Justin tells me, Justin, what do we got going on? I didn't see you slide down. You slid down the video like Santa on Christmas, buddy.
Yeah, I just want to slide in real quick because you'd mentioned that comment. We do have South End Josh on the call-in line whenever you're ready. He's fine. He's hanging out. But I did want to just go ahead and let you guys know because you had mentioned about if you want to get involved with the show today, I'm going to eventually get back and figure out the call-in line for this. I gotta have a burner phone, so I have a burner option. But if you want to get on this and you want to call in today, do like South End Josh, send me a DM and I can get you a line that you can call in and join the show there. Additionally, if you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. And if you want to watch it later, well, it'll be on the YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and of course we will podcast it as well. And I am out of here.
One more time, Justin. Okay. You were saying. You slide on back down, buddy.
Slide on
back down. So you were saying slide into the DMs.
Yeah, so you just slide into my DMs. I don't usually give a lot of men permission to do this.
Maybe a casual genitalia picture along with the slide into the DMs.
You send whatever you want to send with you, big boy. But I'll get you in if the picture is good enough. I'll get you first in line. So there we go.
How about that?
You're like the karaoke DJ. It's like, all right, everybody can request, but if you slide me a little extra money or a juicy picture, then we'll punch you to the top of the line.
Yes, here's $20. As long as you don't sing "Don't Stop Believing," then you can be front in line.
Is that you're not a fan of that at karaoke?
I'm okay with the song. I just hear that way too often. It's that and "Living on a Prayer," like songs that aren't objectively terrible, but songs that have been ruined because lots of people think they can sing them and they really can't. It's true. Like Kentucky thinking they can shoot threes.
I have a buddy who universally does "Fill Me Up Buttercup," and that's actually a pretty good karaoke song.
That's a good song. Yeah,
I just get so sick of him singing it every time he goes to karaoke, and he thinks that he just has the crowd out of the palm of his hand. It annoys me a little bit. One time at Patrick's, R.I.P. Patrick's, I got booed off stage singing "Down" by Jay Sean. Baby, are you down, 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 down? I was way too drunk, and like I used to be able to rap the Lil Wayne part, but then I just had way too many beers that night, and I couldn't do it. And I just looked out in the crowd, and it was my friends, and they were just like, "Boo!" They were really letting me have it. All right, South End Josh, I believe, is on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker. The Cats get a 78-66 win over to St. John's. It was the tale of two halves, and it may be the tale of two seasons for UK. They start out of conference play just in a nightmarish fashion, not beating anybody worth a fart. And then the last two Saturdays, they give the BBN wins over Indiana and Rick Pitino. That'll do, Pig. That'll do. South End Josh, what's up, buddy?
Hello, TJ. Hello, Zachary. Hello, Justin. Hello, dear friends. How are we on this fine Saturday?
There he is. The show's officially started.
Anytime UK wins a sporting event, I'm having a good day. So I'm having a good day. Can Green Bay make it a 2-0 day for me by beating the Bears? Holy moly, wouldn't that be something special? Does UK volleyball and Craig Skinner win a second national championship tomorrow? Make it a big blue and go Pack Go weekend? I don't know, South End Josh. The world's my oyster.
We're definitely winning the national title tomorrow in volleyball, whatever sport we're playing. I'm at the family Christmas, so I'm gonna make this quick. They told on themselves again today. You're gonna play JQ, Low, Mo, and Owe, and you're gonna rotate the fifth guy between anybody but Trent Noah. Trent Noah don't even put a jersey on, Trent. Just stay on the bench, buddy. But no, this was a heck of a win. They needed this one. They told on themselves, like I said, and, somebody check on Zuby Evafor, whatever his name is, because I'm pretty sure Mo made him cry at the end of the game, and that's why he got kicked out of the game. But they play Bellarmine next week, so they don't really need him. But it was a heck of a win, and we're going to have some sodas today to celebrate, and we're going to have a good time. Yeah, I mean, I am elated right now. I don't even know what to say just because of the turnaround. Maybe we should just get down 7 at the half every game.
It's not a bad strategy.
That seems to be the winning strategy the last couple of games. Just play a bad first half against Indiana, play a bad first half against St. John's, and then all of a sudden Mark Pope is wizardry at halftime. I don't know what's working, but so far it is, especially on the defensive end of the floor. So how about just treat the start of the game like they're down 7? Just put on the scoreboard 7-0, whoever Kentucky's playing, and just go from there.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. No, it's the student has surpassed the master, and I hope Rick goes back to the crypt and gets a nice long slumber like he usually does. And I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and go Cats, and I'll jump off here and we'll have a good day.
Merry Christmas, Josh.
Thank you, South End Josh. We do have the Bellarmine game, but I won't be doing the Bud Light postgame show for that one because that will go straight in to the roundtable with Round Daddy, and they will hijack the Bud Light postgame show. They'll do a great job with it, and that'll be fun. And honestly, I may end up just going to the Bellarmine game. That sounds like a fun one. I love Bellarmine. They're my Louisville D1 college basketball team.
Go see our boy John Spears.
Yep, Spears, it's cute. It actually is cute. You got to remember, Spears is like 92 years old, and he is getting giddy. He's actually like 58 or something like that. He just looks 92. But he was saying that, like, this is a bucket list career dream sort of deal. He gets to call a basketball game in Rupp Arena, a college basketball game in Rupp Arena that UK is playing in. I was like, hell yeah, that would be a dream for me as well. I'm totally with you on that, Spears. So I'm excited for him for that. And I am. I'm going to be curious. Hopefully we're able to get the Mark Pope press conference. Okay, we did not get it. The first tweet I see pulling up Twitter, Mark Pope wraps up his presser by saying good luck to Kentucky volleyball as he wants them to go win a national championship. He said that UK basketball is trying to do the same. Well,
we can still take it though.
We can.
In a way, it's not radio.
Are you reading one of your DMs or are you referencing the presser?
I'm checking. I mean, there's no video of it anywhere. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was just making a reference of saying that you could still take it. Wow. Yep. Thanks. Yep. Okay. Just a little, just the ESPN Plus. I'm playing into it a little bit. If you can find it, if the replay's somewhere, then I would say, yeah, let's go ahead and play it. But I thought they went pretty quick. And I think Rick Pitino's talking right now. He says Jalen Lowe makes Kentucky a different team. He also said great move by Pope from being a 3-point shooting team to an inside team. Okay, well, I don't think that's a great move necessarily. But I am so happy, Zach Cantrell, that we were spared the Rick Pitino condescending, talking down. Y'all got to give him more time. He's going to get it right. He's just got to get healthy. That's not necessarily a good New York accent, but you'll bear with me.
You got to get mocked. Get mocked sometime. Mock's got to figure it out.
I'm just so happy we don't get that Rick Pitino in the presser. And instead, he's got to have a little humble pie. And listen, similar to, I think, Kentucky, just with the outside shooting, it's a flawed makeup It's a flawed blueprint. It's never going to be a great outside shooting team. Same with St. John's. They're just going to have offensive issues all season. The pieces don't totally fit. Even worse than Kentucky, in my opinion. They had nothing in the second half. There was no adjustments. Rick Pitino had nothing for Mark Pope and Jaden Quaintance and the surge from UK with Jalen Lowe also re-entering the game. There was no plays they could run. And honestly, you saw that in the first half too. It's just Kentucky's offense, it didn't matter. It was worse. It was what offense was worse. And St. John's entire game plan was, let's just get it inside and get to the foul line. They shot 32 free throws today, boys and girls, 32 free throws. And that was all. That was all they had. And once they got down, I knew Kentucky was going to win once they got up about 7 points because St. John's wasn't going to be able to hit enough shots, and they weren't even getting open looks outside. They weren't even running any offense to get anybody open, and they do have a point guard. They just don't have any shooters. So UK's defense, it really can be something special. It's 2 straight weeks. And again, while St. John's, they're a flawed offensive team, and they will be this season. Indiana is not. Now, they don't have a good front court. They're a little one-dimensional offensively, but it's 2 straight weeks that UK's defense, I'm going to say something a little crazy. I don't know if I've seen a better defense than what we've seen from UK the last 2 weeks, and they didn't have JQ against IU. Could you even imagine adding him to the fold with the way they put the clamps down on the loser Hoosiers? So this is going to be something special. It's Houston's probably the only other team that I've seen where it compares. This can be a very, very special defensive team. And offensively, Jalen Lowe, as long as he stays healthy, I think you have enough there. I think you can survive the shooting woes. Zach Cantrell, we got some craziness in this football game. What's going on here?
I was going to say, Miami's finally scored a touchdown, make it 10-3, and now A&M's back down the field. They got first and goal at the 5 with 39 seconds to go. They're out of timeouts. Reed's throwing the ball away, so it'll be second down. But no, St. John's and Kentucky are very similar teams. It's just Kentucky has better talent, and that was on full display. They had the NBA star in this game in Jaden Quaintance. Quaintance looks like the guy who will be a top 10 pick in the draft next year. He's going to be a lottery guy. St. John's does not have that guy on their roster. They do have a point guard, but you run up against a team that shoots threes as equally poorly as Kentucky has all year. I think you feel confident about that matchup just from an athletic perspective. And again, I want to see that second half defense more on a consistent basis. They were playing a lot of press. They were forcing St. John's into turnovers. They sped the game up in a way that was not comfortable for St. John's to play. Kentucky is better off when they speed up the basketball game. I'm distracted watching football here. So it's about to be third and goal. But you want to speed the game up if you're Kentucky, because I think you can outrun most of the teams that you'll play. Even in the SEC, I know you're going to go up against Alabama, and you're going to go up against Florida. You're going to go up against teams that want to play a little run and gun too. But that's probably their quickest way to win basketball games. They're not going to win games by shooting this year like they did last year. They're going to win games by being more physical. They're going to win games by rebounding. They're going to win games with pressure defense. They're going to win games by turning you over, because the easiest way to score if you're struggling to shoot is to turn the other team over, and then you can get out on the fast break 2-on-1, 3-on-2. And let your athletes go be athletes. And, I think it's somewhat encouraging. Not a ton of Brandon Garrison in this game. Not much to talk about. He was actually good in the minutes that he played.
I was going to say, that first half stretch he had a block shot. He was running the floor well. Like, Brandon, you can do that stuff every single time. That was nothing except, like, what you saw from JQ at times was just like, oh my gosh, what a freak. Brandon, nobody is asking you to do anything close to that. Just play hard and run the floor well, and good things are going to happen for you. And that's great. Now he gets to just go back to like a good Brandon Garrison role where you're not going to have to rely on him too much. And again, we'll see. They're going to probably be easy and ease JQ back. I do want him to get run against Bellarmine. Again, if he's good enough to play in the game that he did, good enough to show what he showed tonight, which, let's see, I want to get his minutes, how many minutes he played. It was
17 minutes for Quaintance.
17 minutes. All right, I would like him to at least just get like a cool 10 against Bellarmine, just to get a little bit more comfortable, get with the flow of the game. I don't think you need to be going out there and playing him 30 minutes, but in SEC play, I want him to play as much as he can possibly be out on the floor. If that's 30 minutes, 30 minutes. If he could play all 40, play them all 40. But you start looking at this team differently, so you start looking at the games differently. They can win at Alabama. I know that's an absolute crazy thing to say, and I don't want to spoil anything for you, but Texas A&M first and goal from the 3-yard line with a chance to force overtime. They get to a third and goal and throw interception.
Oh,
did I see that Michael Irving was at this game?
Yeah, Michael Irvin goes to every Miami game.
Michael Irving and Johnny Manziel. It's probably be a tough time to get some booger sugar in College Station, I would imagine.
I don't know who that dude was that just ran into the end zone. It wasn't Michael Irvin, but I mean, they're like a security guy trying to hold somebody back. Man, yeah. So Miami pulls. I don't really consider it an upset. I picked Miami to win that game, but that was, of all the football games that have been played, that was one of them.
Wow,
because that was not an entertaining game in the slightest. But I'll ask you this: were you surprised at the amount of time that Quaintance played? Because Rob Doster went on the Take with Andy Sweeney the other day, and he said that when Quaintance comes back, he does not expect minutes restriction. He expects him to play about 25 minutes or so. And I think he had insider information knowing he was going to play in this game. I was not surprised. I think 17 is probably the sweet spot. I think playing 10 minutes probably would have been too little. I think you don't want to overexert him. You don't want to play 25 to 30 minutes and just blow your load on one December non-conference game. I think 17 was the right amount.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous thing for Rob Doster to say. When healthy, absolutely. Yeah, JQ is going to be a guy that you would have out there for 28 minutes or 30 minutes or as much as you can. Again, you got to remember this dude is 18 years old. Yes, he is good enough to be out there on the floor, but he tore his ACL in, March? I think there's a certain, like, just forget about the game for a second. I don't care if it's Kentucky or if it was Kentucky Wesleyan. We should all just take a step back and be like, dude, he tore his ACL. His knee was shredded. And actually, I think it was like for an ACL tear, I think it was like one of the best ones that you can have. I don't know. I've never torn a knee before, but I think he got off relatively easy. But it's still a major, major knee injury any way that you break it down, even if the chips kind of fell your way with the way that your ACL was sliced. This is 9 months ago, and he's back on the court, and it was game number 1 against one of the more physical teams in the country, and he instantly made an impact. Instantly looked like the best front court player in a game that featured McDonald's All-Americans and conference preseason players of the year. JQ, the dude who last year was playing college basketball as a 17-year-old and had a major knee injury, in game number 1, just dominated. It wasn't like, hey, we saw some good things out of him. There's a lot to build on there. No, dude, he dominated. He was just incredible. And that's why, if you're a UK fan, I'm tickled. And I have been far from a butt slapper this year. Zach can attest. I've been incredibly frustrated. I was booing in Nashville. I had my 4-year-old daughter on my left knee and my 1-year-old daughter on my right knee. And I was just boo. And I even got the daughters involved because they deserve to be booed. That was pathetic. That was pathetic. And the effort against Michigan State was pathetic. And losing at home to UNC, I don't care if people are injured. You got to find a way to win that game. But it seems like they've woken up. And so much of that is just being healthier and actually having a point guard and actually having a lottery pick 5. But if they can stay healthy, and it's a huge if, it's a big if with Jalen Lowe. But if he can stay healthy, Zach, it can be a Final Four team. I know it's crazy to say that, and I know the outside shooting is really bad, but if they can stay healthy, what you saw tonight and what you saw against Indiana, and that didn't even include JQ, that's good basketball. Now, what you saw in the first half, not so much.
That was not good. No, second half Kentucky is a team that can be a second weekend team. I'm not ready to go Final Four. I'm not going 0 to Final Four just yet, but I see where you're coming from. And look, this is the enthusiasm. This was the expectation. This was the hope that you had coming into the year was a healthy Jalen Lowe and a healthy Jaden Quaintance. And now look, Otega Owe, his life is a whole lot easier because both of those guys are on the court. He had 20 points in this game. It wasn't the most efficient 20 points, but he got to the free throw line. He was taking better shots than he's been doing these last couple of games. And they got nothing out of Colin Chandler in this game. So I think that's a positive sign. They got nothing out of him, and you're still able to win this game convincingly. You're going to get somebody else to step up, and Cam Williams did today. But you really need, if you get those three being consistent, then you just need that fourth and fifth guy, whether it's Cam Williams, whether it's Malachi Moreno, perhaps, maybe Garrison or somebody knocks down a couple of shots. You just need 3 or 4 guys to be consistent and good on a regular basis. And if they can do that, then they will be a difficult out. I give them a chance to win at Alabama. I don't know if I would necessarily predict it, but I just saw Arizona go there and dog walk them last week. This Alabama team is good. I don't think they're the Alabama team that we've seen the last 2 years that got to the Final Four in the Elite Eight. But if you can slow down those guards, Kentucky should have, with Garrison, with Moreno, with JQ, they should have the size advantage down there. Obviously not trying to look past Bellarmine. If all this goes away if you lose Bellarmine, that's not going to happen. But you got to be enthusiastic about this team for the first time this season as far as their long-term goals, even because they hadn't really beaten anybody with a pulse until Indiana last week. Now they've beaten 2 teams with the pulse, so I think it's fair to reevaluate. And they're not where they want to be, but they could absolutely get there. But really, in the next couple of weeks, if they start strong in SEC play, look out.
Our new Lord
up,
and
Justin?
Savior comes in and saves the day because there was no audio, there was no video, except for like a couple 30 seconds out there of Pope and Pitino. But our man Jack Grossman comes in, swoops in, sends us a couple audio files, and then also is on the line currently. If you want to go to Jack first, and then maybe we can hit up that sound afterward, whatever you think is best. It's your show, not mine.
I want to hear from Jack. Magic City,
let's let Jack sound off. Take it away, Jack.
What's up, guys? Rick Pitino and Kenny Klein literally just walked right past to the State Farm Center. So we'll see what they hear. But
get him on the
Pitino
show.
Get
him on the show. Get him on. Let's get him on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame shows. Jack Grossman. Get him on.
Oh man, he was not in a good mood. But I mean, it was really, as I'm sure you guys have been talking about, it was Jaden Quaintance, Jalen Lowe, and the fact that Kentucky second half they took much better care of the ball. They were on one that made St. John's play against the set defense, which St. had no success with at any point in the game other than when they got to the free throw line. And it'd be not turn the ball over, Jalen Lowe breaking down the defense, Quaintance on the inside. And I thought it went really under the radar there. I thought he really sparked Kentucky at the start of that second half when he had that stretch where he hits a really tough jumper, gets and one. That kind of, to me, ignited Kentucky. Lowe comes in right after that. And yeah, I mean, my big question for them was they looked good in the Indiana game. Yes, he has a pulse. I guess they do. But it's one thing to act tough and play physical against Indiana, who, let's be frank here, is soft and small, to be honest. But to do that against who is very hard-nosed, they play tough basketball, that's where it's like, okay, this is rough. This isn't a one-off just based off of the opponent you were playing. So it was really insanely impressive second half from Kentucky.
Soft and small, but enough about Justin's DMs. What was the atmosphere like?
Oh,
It's not soft right now.
Well,
That was a lot.
what was the atmosphere like in Catlanta? I imagine that first half, were there any boos? Because, again, the offense was just totally pathetic once Lowe went out. Well, it was pretty much the entire game because he was only in for about 7 seconds. Yeah. And then in the second half, it sounded like a UK home game, Jack.
Yeah, the only time there was a boo wasn't towards anything the team was doing. It was that they booed when they took Quaintance out of the game. One of the times, just purely because the fans were incredibly ecstatic about him being on the floor and in the game and producing at a real high when he was in the game. So not really any booing. It was a very, obviously very pro-Kentucky I mean, there's a lot of Carolina fans here now for the second game, but it was of the people that were in the building, which was probably 65-ish% full, 65% full. It was 5% Kentucky fans. There was 1 point the few St. John's fans started like a St. John's chant. They did the thing, did the Go Big Blue chant and drowned it out. So it was a very, very, very lively crowd, very energetic crowd, and was incredibly enthusiastic that Kentucky was able to put together the run they did in the second half.
He's too erect.
I went to a couple.
Whoa!
I went to a couple of U of L Big East games when they played St. John's. I went to a 2011 St. John's UK game at Rupp Arena, but I've never actually been around any St. John's fans. Jack, what's the St. John's chant? Can you reenact it for us?
Just let's go, Johnnies! Clap, 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 and clap. That's basically it. Nothing crazy.
And they just yell, clap, clap, clap instead of clapping. That's interesting. I think that's just the actual.
Yeah, I know. That is interesting. It's a rarity these days. Yeah.
Oh, I'm kidding, Jack. One thing we were talking about before we had you on, assuming that Jalen Lowe can stay healthy, and Jaden Quaintance, you got to assume that he can stay healthy. Let's just say that he's back. And it's tougher with Lowe because it could just be any given game, any given moment. But with JQ, you got to assume that if he's cleared to go, then they think that knee is healthy and freak accidents can happen. But let's hope that's not the case. But let's assume that UK's at full strength. How good can this team be, Jack Grossman?
I mean, it's very much. I mean, the Lowe thing, I'm no doctor by like we've watched players deal with the shoulder thing before where it'll pop out and then pop back in. Very rarely is that something that just goes away as the season goes along. Or that'd be like Lamont Butler dealing with a similar thing last year. I know back in the day on the Indiana side, Juwan Morgan had that type of deal. So I don't know if that's ever something that's good, but it is encouraging that we saw it pop out. He comes out for a little bit. And he said in the post-game presser, it's like a few minutes later, I feel like be good. So I'm like, okay, if we're at the where it comes out, you pop it back in, and then you can go back on there, that's a step forward from it pops out and you miss 3 weeks type of deal. So I think that's going to be just something that they're going to have to monitor here because we saw it. It's night and day when Jalen Lowe's on the floor. I mean, St. John's defensive pressure really hindered Kentucky in that first half. I mean, Kentucky had 33 possessions, turned it over on a third of them, which playing 7 seconds of that versus playing most of the second half. UK turns the ball over 5 times in 34 possessions. Like that's the basketball game in a nutshell right there. It was if Kentucky could not turn the ball over, they were going to win because they were shooting a better percentage. They were able to get better shots, and they were absolutely suffocating St. John's when they had to play a set defense on the other end. St. John's only having 2 fast break points it's true, but even if they weren't getting initial buckets out of it, they were able to get good looks, get to the foul line, and do a lot of good work, even if just Kentucky's not be able to get back to defense immediately. So that, to me, is just the biggest thing that changed the game. As good as Jaden Quaintance was, I think Jalen Lowe should be the story because that's the thing that really turned the game around for Kentucky. And we'll see what happens with Quaintance. I mean, hopefully he's able to stay healthy and start playing more minutes. I'd have to see how many he played. I know it was much more consistent in the second half than it felt like in the first half. But it's going to be a storyline all year with both those dudes is can you stay? And as Quaintance continues to build back up more with that knee, how many minutes is he going to play? Because I think the front court of him and Mo Diabate can be really, really effective, especially on the defensive end. I mean, you saw it today with what they did with Zuby Ejiofor, who's one of the best players in the country. They held him to 2 of 8 from the field. He didn't dominate on the glass. I mean, that's a really tough thing to do against a dude like that. So it's definitely a storyline, but Low with the shoulder, that's the one that I'm really going to be looking at going, okay, how long can you keep this patchwork together?
Although my 2 groins feel like it's not so good.
at the under 16 minute timeout in the second half, outscores St. John's by 20 points. I think it was 19 points against Indiana in the second half. When this team turns it on, they really can put the clamps down. And Jack, I know you've been following college basketball. I love that you're one of my favorite college basketball follows, as a matter of fact. The SEC isn't last year's SEC. It's still good.
No.
It still, I think, has some Final Four contenders, but it ain't going to have multiple number one seeds. So if this Kentucky team can hit their stride sooner rather than later, and most importantly, stay healthy, they can win the SEC. I wouldn't say they're the favorite as of today. Arkansas, Florida, Alabama, they're all right there. But Kentucky's in the conversation. And as a matter of fact, Vandy is the Vegas favorites to win the SEC, which is just shocking to me. But it really feels like anybody. Yeah, they are. It's crazy. Maybe it's changed as of today.
Why not?
Yeah, I think they were like plus 320 to win the conference, which is wild. But it feels like Kentucky can be right there in the conversation. And going in a week ago, if we were going a week ago, the IU game hadn't happened yet. That'd be a crazy thing to suggest that UK could win the SEC. But I think that's legitimate, Jack.
It was a boy in a dream.
I'm right there with you on that. I mean, I think Arkansas would probably be my pick right now from how much better John Calipari's group has gotten even early in the season. I think they're the one that I would say probably has the best chance to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. But I'm there with you. I mean, if you're able to go and impose this physicality against Alabama on January 3rd, a team that when they lose, they get absolutely pounded on the boards. That's been the constant theme. When Arizona beat them, when Gonzaga beat them, when Purdue beat them, they get absolutely demolished on the glass. And if Kentucky's able to do that with Diabate and Quaintance and Garrison and those dudes, they could win in Tuscaloosa. That's not the craziest thing to say in the world, which is something that it was, to your point, absolutely unfathomable a week ago. But yeah, I think Arkansas and Florida, despite the fact that either one of them have a bunch of really good wins, Arkansas has a couple in the non-conference, are the teams that I think have the highest ceiling. Alabama is probably the best team right now. Vanderbilt, I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen a whole ton of, and the one game I did see was them against a pretty piss-poor Memphis team. And yes, they won the game, but I'm going to be honest, it was pretty ugly. So I need to see a little bit more from Vandy against top competition before I buy in on them. But no, I mean, I'm with you guys. It's Kentucky's going to be right there because, like you said, there isn't a Florida from last year. There isn't an Auburn from last year. There isn't even a Tennessee or an Alabama from last year. The SEC is still a very good league, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely taking a step back, especially at the top end to where you're not going to see a bunch of 1 and 2 seeds like there was last year. And that's where Kentucky, this was a huge game for Kentucky for a lot of reasons. I thought it was an even bigger game for St. John's because Kentucky will still get a lot of quad one chances in the SEC where St. John's, to be quite frank, just isn't outside of UConn in the Big East. But this can be a catapult for them now to really just build momentum going into that game in Tuscaloosa to where if you get that win, that's the type of win that can jump you up a seed line or two come March. And that's something that obviously matters an immense amount to Mark Pope in Kentucky and everyone is can you position yourself well to make a deep March run.
That's another win that changes expectations if they're able to go down there and win that game. This is kind of the first step toward that as far as we're kind of looking at this team differently because Lowe and Quaintance are healthy and because you're able to beat St. John's at their own game and especially the way that they dominated the second half. I mean, this version of Kentucky, the second half Kentucky we've seen the last 2 weeks, can play with anybody in the SEC. And this is a conference that's going to have 10, 11 teams probably in the tournament, but it doesn't have Florida, it doesn't have Auburn, it doesn't have even Alabama from last year when they went to the Elite Eight. It's got teams that can make runs, but it's not a dominant conference from top to bottom. And I think the ceiling of this team has significantly changed with a healthy Jaylen Lowe. Now, that's going to be the story of the season because, as we've talked about, one bad hit the other way, and we're right back to square one, and Jaylen Lowe might be out for the year, and Kentucky might have a problem. But if he's healthy and JQ's healthy, they can be two of the 3 or 4 best players on the floor against just about everybody they play. And this team, I think, has started to figure out an identity with their defense and with their rebounding, especially in these second halves. If they could continue that momentum, they are going to be a difficult out in the SEC. And it's a lot better conversation to have than what we were having 2 weeks ago after they lost yet another big out-of-conference game, and it looked like the season was teetering.
Oh, absolutely. And this is, to be honest, we still thought they were going to be a better shooting team than this, and Mark Pope would absolutely say that as well. But this is how Mark Pope envisioned this team being on the defensive end. That's why he went out and got guys like a Jaden Quaintance, brought in Malachi Moreno, Mo Diabate. He wanted to be more athletic in the front court after a season where that was really fun last year, but there was a very clear, hard glass ceiling that UK could never crack with the top echelon of college basketball. You look at how they're playing now with that defensive aggressiveness, with that physicality. Yes, it's a much different game than we ever thought Mark Pope would be willing to play, but it's a credit to him to where he's been able to take the identity of this team and say, okay, we're going to really mug things up. UK only took 16 threes today. If Kentucky had a game where they took 16 threes last year, was there any chance they were going to win? No, probably not. But it's a credit to the coaching staff for saying, this is the personnel we have. We recruited to this personnel, and saying we're going to have to win a different way from what we're used to. And it's taken time, and the injuries obviously played a big part in it. But we're starting to see the fruit of that in the last week and a half or so.
That's a great point by you.
Yeah. I'm conflicted on where to stand with the coaching staff. I'm not ready to give them their flowers like you are, Jack, because the offense without Jalen Lowe has just been putrid. I mean, it has been hard to watch.
No, and the thing I would say with that is, as we teeter into the new year and all that stuff and moving forward, the big criticism I'd put on them is that after what you went through with Lamont Butler last year, the will he, won't he play, and how much he impacted how good Kentucky was a season ago, I don't understand how you could go back and double down on that situation and do the exact same thing with Jalen Love. Well, how there isn't another point guard on the roster, I don't understand why they would put themselves in that predicament again.
They can't dribble without Jalen Lowe. They can't do entry passes. They can't do anything. I mean, it is hard to watch at times. So that's the thing that, I'm tickled with today's win, beating Pitino for the first time in 9 years. There's so much to be optimistic about. But the thing that just scares the bejesus out of me, Jack Grossman, is you get Jalen Lowe injured and you just revert right back to one of the worst offensive teams in the SEC. That's what worries me. But when you have him, it's a top 15 team, and I don't know if I can be convinced otherwise. Without him,
he amazes me with his stamina.
I agree, and that's something. But that goes back to it. You shouldn't have to hinge on. Jalen Lowe's a good player. He's not AJ DeBanza by any means. One player, you need to have more than one primary ball handler on a roster in today's day of age. And to go in 2 years in a row not having that puts the entire season in peril of, I agree. I think Kentucky's a very legit, top 15, top 20 team if they can stay healthy. But I have no clue if they're going to be able to stay healthy for the next week, much less the next 2.5 months. So, yes, I am giving Pope credit to where he's molded this team to play the way he envisioned it, especially on the defensive end. But at the same time, I don't understand how for a second year in a row you're basically betting the season on can Jalen Lowe stay healthy, or in the same way you did with Lamont Butler a year ago.
Yeah, and the more that I'm thinking about it, I'm not giving the coaching staff any flowers whatsoever, because exactly what you're saying. You once again have a situation where if one player goes down, the entire season can be altered and has been altered for what it's worth. And then secondly, you could maybe get away with it as you did last year. You still went to a Sweet 16 with all the injuries and whatnot. If you had any shooting whatsoever, and really outside of Cam Williams, you don't. Colin Chandler, again, he's just not overly reliable against great competition. So the roster makeup's not great. You didn't get depth at the right positions. That's an issue. And it probably took you too long to even adjust to going and pounding the ball inside as is. I think they tried to force being an outside shooting team and realized, we're not going to be able to do that. So they reverted to just kind of a ground and pound basketball style, if you will, of penetrating and attacking the paint. So no, Jack, I don't think this coaching staff has done a great job. However, we're not in 2026 yet. March and NCAA tournament, it's a long way away. Maybe they're on to something as they get healthier. And I have to also mention that too. Any coaching staff's going to have their job much tougher when you have 3 projected starters out, including your point guard. That being said, you got to get a backup point guard. What are you doing? You got to have one. You got to be able to dribble the ball if one player's out. So it is a complicated situation for the staff. However, they're somewhat responsible for being in this situation. So just win in March, get this turned around, win an SEC tournament, and I'll be singing their praises.
Fair enough. I mean, it's Kentucky, so that's what the expectations are, right? I mean, you're not in it to make the Sweet 16 and bow out and be 5th in the SEC. That's not what this is about. It's, you want to go to Nashville and win games. You want to win the SEC regular season, and it's about the fact that the Final Four is in Indianapolis this year. I know Louisville fans are thinking the same thing Purdue fans are. Indiana fans aren't because they, suck this year. But it's
hold on now. They beat Chicago State tonight, Jack Grossman. They beat Chicago State. So the Hoosiers are back on track after that 20-point win.
Darian DeVries is so lucky that Kurt Signetti has dominated absolutely everything right now.
They're a football school, I've heard. Indiana's become
it is a football school. Yeah. If they weren't playing in the Rose Bowl against Alabama in a week and a half, someone would care that they're not built to beat legit teams or teams with a pulse.
Did you ever think that would be
for another day?
Did you ever think you would utter the sentence in your life? Indiana, 6.5-point favorites over Alabama in the Rose Bowl. I mean, if that doesn't sum up the last 2 years of college football, what does?
Yeah, it's insane. It's insanity, man. It's still unfathomable how they're there. You see it. They're incredible. They're so much fun to watch. But it's still unbelievable. So, yeah, no, I never thought Indiana would be in the Rose Bowl or anything like that. It's
Jared DeVries better get it together, or otherwise no one's going to care about the basketball program anymore. They're all going to be moving to football. But, yeah, Indiana's got to get their act together. But, I mean, I can't wait to see what the growth of this Kentucky team over the course of the season. I can't wait to see what Lowe and JQ become. JQ looks like the guy that, as TJ mentioned, I mean, Kentucky used to have 5 of those guys on their team. They used to have 6 of those guys on their team. But he stands out a little bit more because they don't have that guy. And we've talked about over the course of the season, Kentucky doesn't have a ton of guys that are obvious pros. JQ now fits that mold. He's the obvious pro. He's the guy that you got to lean on a regular basis. So I want to see how this impacts Otega Oweh, because I think Oweh is very good. Obviously, we know what his record is.
Sure, his mom's great also.
I'm sure Otega's mom is great as well. But we know what his record is as far as scoring double digits. And
we love his mom.
But so JQ and Lowe should open it up for Otega. And I think Otega's better when he's a number 2 guy as opposed to being the number 1 guy for this team. So we'll see how they continue to develop. And they got nothing out of Colin Chandler today, and they were still able to win rather comfortably. And it felt like, I mean, did it feel like Rick Pitino went back to coaching at Louisville against Kentucky? Because it doesn't matter where he goes. He just can't handle Kentucky, it seems like.
Got a little tight. And it sounds like sounds like Jack has a call coming in.
I do?
It's me. That's another guy calling. We're good. I had to mute it. Sorry.
Okay, enough about your DMs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Jeez, please.
He's too erect.
Jack, we'll let you go. We know that Ohio State and UNC are going on. You're in Catlanta. You want to celebrate the Big Blue victory. I know we'll let you get to it. But we are appreciative of your time. But no, you can answer what Zach is saying.
Thanks for having me, guys. First of all, this is a great throwback, TJ. All we're missing is Trevor Kelsey to get the old gang back together.
Good old Trevor Kelsey. I agree. For people that don't know, Jack Grossman was an intern at Big X Sports Radio. It's really how he got his start into the sports world.
It is.
A lot of people are saying I turned him into the star that he is today. But we actually had a really fun show with a high school manual Jack and Trevor Kelsey before his Class Z felony days. And we just really were ripping and roaring. Jack, it was a lot of fun.
Dude,
and I miss hearing you on radio every day. I mean, I know ESPN 680 calls you call you every other day. I mean, I hope they're paying you or throwing you a little something. But my goodness gracious. It's like special guest Jack Grossman. It's like, on how many shows has it been this week? But I'm glad to still hear you. You're great at what you do. Or I don't even know what you're doing now. You're doing stats. Is that so?
So I work for a sports technology company. I got to get going to work now. I might be a little bit late because of this today, but that's okay. But yeah, it's the company that's behind like StatCast and like the first down markers and NFL and like goaltending reviews in basketball. That's all kind of innovations. People can look it up if you're interested. But yeah, no, having fun with that. Still getting, I'm lucky enough to where they let me on shows like this, with Shreebold and all them, and also getting to do the podcast with Mark Lieberman. Shameless plug, I want to listen to Louisville stuff, Lloyd Treat's Finest, CCA Podcast Network. But it really does go back to TJ letting me as a bombastic high school senior actually be able to give takes on hair, and that's something I've always really appreciated. It was such a fun time, man. I loved doing that with you and Trevor. It was so much fun, and you're not wrong. I'm not where I'm at today without that, and that's something that I've always looked back on and always really appreciated and had a blast with.
Well, I was just bullshitting. You would have done all that on your own. You're very smart and talented. But enough, Jack. Okay, we're not getting in. Jack, enough, Jack. Enough. All right, buddy. Enough. Move on. Get to work.
Well, I'm gonna head out. Appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks, Andy. Let me get the press pass today so I could watch a little bit of basketball and had a blast with it. Take care, guys. We'll talk soon.
See you, buddy. Big J
Thanks,
journalism, and the J stands for Jack Grossman. Appreciate
Getting
him
the
popping
680 credential. How about that? There we go.
Look at that. They'll just give it out to anybody these days, I suppose.
Know.
But this is the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker. We so desperately miss your phone calls into the show today. Justin, if anybody else chimes in, that's fine. We'll get.
I think we got one more coming for sure. Let me, it's John, and I'll pot him in.
Enough about your DA. You just can't. I think you're doing it intentionally now at this point. Bug, he texted in and says, "Man, the first half was almost unwatchable. It really turned it on in the second. But Pope needs to get in their ass when they stand around on offense." I think you mean on their ass when they stand around on offense. But point taken all the same there, Bug. Jason Ince says someone wanted to give Sofaro a live look on FaceTime. I think that's probably what happened. Are we sure that Owe isn't one of the Harrison twins? Yeah, he certainly looks like him. And then
we
got John.
Does.
Okay, we got John. John was going to dress up like an elf to try to sell houses today. I think that's later in the afternoon, so I don't think it's happened yet. But we'll be sure to get an update on his elf wardrobe. John, what's up, buddy? Welcome into the postgame show. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Hey, I'll do the elf dress up. It's tomorrow on Sunday, so we're okay. I haven't dressed up just yet.
Maybe the wife gets lucky and it's Saturday night and tomorrow, huh?
Well, we'll see about that. Elf on her shelf, huh?
Whoa, there we go. Okay, John.
Well,
everybody looks at Dick.
Man, the team just looks different with JQ, and I know it wasn't just JQ, but he just brings something different, and he just looks like a young man growing into a bigger man amongst boys in some aspects. Just seeing him over on the bench, and just when you look at him, the guy's going to be a good player. Maybe a Ben Wallace, type player. something like that is. And I know Ben Wallace is a big man and played some, great years with Detroit and with the Pistons and NBA champions. So it might be going a little too far, too early for JQ.
Gotta
but
start working on that afro a little bit if he's going to be Ben Wallace.
If he's going to look, yeah. But he goes in there. They just a lot of good by Moreno and Abate. A lot of good shot blocking, great rebounding today. I know it wasn't much of a game later when they were up like 10, but there was like a minute and 21 seconds, and JQ grabbed a big rebound off a missed free throw from one of the St. John's players. And I thought, man, a few games back, that would have been a rebound they wouldn't have got, and it was just so nice to see.
No, that's exactly
really
right.
was.
There was a couple, and you saw a little bit of both of it in the first half. Where I took a video, I tweeted it out. It was right before the half. It was with a minute to go, and Kentucky it's a 5-point or what is it? No, it's a 5-point game, and UK has the ball. Otega Owe tries to throw an entry pass to Diabate, who is probably 4 feet off the block anyway. So it's just kind of a dumb place to be throwing a difficult pass to begin with. And of course, it's not a good pass because Otega Owe is not a point guard. And it gets knocked away. St. John's comes back. They're in transition. And John, exactly what you're talking about, like you mentioned the past games, other games, the Gonzaga game, the Michigan State game. Kentucky's just so slow to get back. They don't fill their lanes in transition. They don't know where they're going, who they're supposed to defend. But that's transition. It can be a little chaotic. St. John's shoots a 3. They miss it. And then everybody's just, you can watch it on the video. Everybody's just standing around watching the ball. And for what it's worth, JQ isn't on the court during this stretch. And they're just standing around watching the ball. St. John's gets it. Second chance point. I think it's Ian Jackson. He gets an easy layup. UK gets the ball. So now they're down 7. Could have been a 2 or 3 point game. UK gets the ball, and now there's like 30 seconds left. Otega Owe actually makes a nice move. It's a decent set offensively. He blows by his guy, but it's the play that he has had trouble finishing on all year, just when he's the focal point of the offense. And it gets blocked, and UK at that point is lucky that St. John's doesn't score on the other end to make it a 9 or a 10-point game at the half. But you had a legitimate chance, despite how ugly things were, to make it a 2 or a 3-point game at halftime, and just kind of pure laziness kept you from doing that. And thank goodness that changed in the second half. And I don't know if it's just JQ, he sparks that motor out of everybody, or if Jalen Lowe's able to do it, or maybe a combination of the both of them. But that being said, it was night and day different between the two halves. And that with 1 minute to go in the first half, I was so frustrated because that was the stuff that has just been killing Kentucky all year. And they fixed it, John. You're right about that.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that I keep you guys are probably seeing memes or posters, but sometimes someone will talk a lot of stuff about a team, and then the team will win a game or two. And instead of that fan base or that team members start to like really chirp real loud, we kind of just look at them and we kind of put our finger up to our mouth like we're shushing them, like we're not there just yet, but hold your opinions right now, because this team does have the makeup. And besides the 3-point shooting, I mean, it still was a bad day for 3-point shooting, but they only took, 16, made 4. I don't know if we're going to see the 3-point shooting like we thought, but.
No, we are going to see it as we think now. I don't like it's a bad 3-point shooting team. It's never going to be a good one. I said it on roll call yesterday. If they have games making over 5 3-pointers, take that as a major, major win, and just hope they don't have a game where they only make 1 or 2. It's not going to be a strength. Now, if Lowe's able to stay healthy, he will set guys up a little bit better, but it's going to be frustrating as the season goes on. Now, to make a positive, because that was a bit negative, to add a positive to that, Cam Williams is coming around. Slowly but surely, he's coming around. And, John, I think it's just a confidence thing for him, because he put up good numbers at Tulane last year. And I get the jump from Tulane to Kentucky. It may take a little bit of time, and this could be the time that it takes. But either you can make open shots or you can't. And he wasn't doing it there at the beginning of the season. So I think he was just in his own head, but he's starting to come around a little bit, and I'm excited about that.
One last thing, guys. I'll say this. We are going to play a lot better. We're going to be – this is the team everybody was looking for when we first started the season, I think, because of injuries. And like you said, if Lowe can stay healthy, that's the important thing. I was so glad when he went out and then I saw him come back in I was just so happy about that, and it was sad that when he went out because I was worried. But that's neither there nor there. Now we're here to a victory, and I will also say I'm going to go ahead and I will be posting a video. If you guys want to see me make a fool of myself, I guess, in my elf costume, I'll be in main character. I'll do it on my local John 1812 YouTube channel. I'll post a video on there so everybody will be able to see it. So go Cats. I'm glad we got the victory.
Oh, we're definitely going to be looking for that, John. That's the first thing. That if you get nothing else from John's call there, that's the most important thing that came out of it by far, is that we're going to get the elf video later on. But John had some great points there.
He'll probably slide that video into Justin's DMs, I would imagine.
If
Zach
there's
Cantrell,
any space.
let's exactly. Let's get to some superlatives here on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show with ZC and TJ Walker. If I get the superlatives pulled up, we got the Twin Peaks player of the game. Zach, I'll let you go first on this one. I think this one is up for debate.
It really is up for debate. Statistically, you would go with Ortega having 20 points, but I'm giving it to JQ because I think JQ was the biggest difference maker in this game. He was the guy that as soon as he got on the floor in the second half, the entire tenor of the game changed. His ability to run up and down the floor, his rebounding, his defense. That was a completely different basketball team. You could argue for Jalen Lowe. You could argue for Ortega Oweh. Neither answer would be wrong. I think Jaden Quaintance had the biggest impact on this game. And he's ultimately the guy, if Kentucky's going to get to where they want to go, he's probably going to be the guy that takes them there. So I'm going with Jaden Quaintance, his first opportunity to get Twin Peaks player of the game, and I'm going to go ahead and give it to him.
Yeah, poor Ortega Oweh with 20 points, not even between the two of us getting a Twin Peaks player of the game. By the way, Twin Peaks going to be rocking and rolling. What a sports day it is. Those frosty beers, if you haven't had them, a Bud Light frosty beer at Twin Peaks, that would hit well after a Cats victory today. That's a tough go for Ortega Oweh. It was just a good Ortega Oweh game. This is the way you think of Ortega Oweh. You look at the box score and you're like, 20 points, well, that's neat. But I'm giving it to Jalen Lowe. He was your Twin Peaks player of the game. Kentucky's offense is literally night and day difference with him in. And while Jaden Quaintance is a NBA player, he's incredible. He's a difference maker. He changes the landscape of this team. UK cannot dribble the ball without Jalen Lowe. So it's almost just like a non-starter as a team. And that's why he's so important, and he needs to stay healthy. And his shoulder is being held on by tape, and it's probably not going to stay healthy throughout the season, but you just got to hope you can get through the next game, right? Take it day by day, take it game by game. He is my Twin Peaks player of the game with 13 points on 5 of 7 shooting. He was able to knock down both of his free throws. He hit a 3, so he had 25% of 3-point shooting for UK today. 3 assists as well, and 0 turnovers in a game that featured UK slopping it up left and right. Jalen Lowe was not responsible for that, and I'm happy about that. So he's my Twin Peaks player of the game. We do have on the chat, what do you think's going on with Colin Chandler? He looks scared and off right now. Well, there's no doubt about that he's off. He is not a big contributor of late for UK. And I don't think he's going to be this season, unfortunately. And the good thing is, if Jalen Lowe's held, the issue for Colin Chandler is like, hey, Colin, if you could have just been a point guard dude, you would be shining. But he can't, and that stinks for him, and it stinks for this team a little bit. Colin Chandler needs to be on a team with shooters. And you may say, well, what are you talking about? He's a shooter. Why does he need to be on a team with shooters? Well, because when a defense knows not to let go of Colin Chandler, hey, guys, he's the only player out here that can stretch the floor and shoot. Do not leave him. He can't get he's not, I guess, like slippery enough to get a guy off of him. He can't run off screens and get somebody he can't lose a defender by himself. He can't lose a defender with the ball in his hands, and he can't lose a defender without the ball. So he needs to be on a team with other shooters, and he's kind of the afterthought. He's a solid defender, Zach. He can hold his own defensively. He's always going to play hard. All the scrappy white guy cliches you want to use, it applies to Colin Chandler. And he is a good shooter, but he's somebody, and Jalen Lowe, you saw it, I already mentioned it once today, but on that one play, Jalen Lowe is going to really help Colin Chandler because he can attract defenders off of Colin, kind of like a magnet onto him, and then he'll kick out to Colin. But right now, there's not a lot of good passers on this team, so that hurts Colin Chandler. He himself just can't get open, so that hurts Colin Chandler. And he's just not making shots in the intermediate, and that hurts Colin Chandler. So last year's setup was better for him, but he was coming off a 2-year mission, so he had a lot of rust to shake off. And this just isn't the best makeup of a roster for Colin Chandler. Jalen Lowe will help him, so don't give up on him just yet. But he needs some shooters around him, and maybe Cam Williams as he gets going. I wasn't going to pick Cam for my Twin Peaks player of the game, but we've already mentioned him now probably about 4 times, Zach Cantrell, and you were the one who started talking about him. But he was big tonight.
Yes.
When UK got off and running, it was Cam. And one thing that I really liked, and this was an underrated part, and I'm sure Brandon Ramsey will clip it and highlight it and talk all about it. That dude's a basketball nut. I think he made a 3, or maybe he had made his I think he had made a 3, maybe he had made his second 3, and you thought he may take a heat check, but he did something that, oh my goodness, basketball players all across the globe need to do it. He pump faked and he took it inside. And I don't know if he scored on it or not. I don't remember. He may have even passed it, but it was just a great play. And UK's offense was really clicking at that moment. So he was also good tonight with the 11 points, 2 made threes, and able to get to the line 6 times. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'd imagine that has to be a season high for him getting to the free throw line. And he's a good free throw shooter. He did miss one tonight, but he's somebody you're okay with getting to the line. And in 20 minutes, Cam Williams, no turnovers. In a game that featured 16 UK turnovers, Jalen Lowe, Cam Williams, 0 of them. We love that. We also love KPG glass, and we're going to tell you who hit the glass. For Kentucky, it was Malachi Moreno with 9 rebounds, Jaden Quaintance with 8, and 39 team rebounds for the Cats. They did beat St. John's on the glass. They crushed them 39-28. And a lot of those, again, coming in the second half, just took over the game. UK was getting punched in the mouth, and they were more physical in the second half. Zach Cantrell, speaking of punch in the mouth, did you watch that fight last night?
Unfortunately, I did watch that fight, and I thought it was going to be like every other Jake Paul fight, which means rigged and boring, and that's essentially what it was until, Anthony Joshua actually did knock him out. So I did appreciate the fact that there was a knockout, but yeah.
Broken jaw.
Luckily it's on Netflix, because then if I had to pay for it, then that's a problem. I'm already paying for Netflix as it is, so I don't look at it as I'm paying for the fight necessarily. But yeah, it was essentially the same fight over and over again. But it was great for Kentucky that they're able to be, they had 10 more shots in this game, 11 more rebounds in this game. That's what you need to do. They are the bigger team. They're the more physical team. And going up against Rick Pitino, that's not nothing. I mean, the fact that you're able to get so many second shot opportunities, even for a team that doesn't shoot the ball particularly well, and this is not a great shooting team right now, the way that you handle that is you go get extra possessions. You go get offensive rebounds. You get extra shots, because then you don't have to have the world's best shooting percentage. If you're shooting the ball more times, you just need 1 out of every 3 or 4 shots to go in. It still counts all the same. So at least they're figuring out that. At least they're attacking the glass. So they're extending themselves more defensively. They're getting second chance opportunities. I think they're doing a really good job there. So yeah, they definitely hit the glass in this game. That's becoming a recurring pattern these last 2 games.
He's Zach Cantrell. I'm TJ Walker. This is the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show on ESPN Plus. We are thankful for Justin getting this up and going and sounding good and working. So thank you, Justin, for all that. We're also thankful for Lanning Paint, points in the paint, 40-30. The Cats beat the Red Storm in the paint. That was pretty good. We'll take that. They certainly had the advantage. They took advantage of it in the second half, and it seemed like a point of emphasis. Just keep going inside. Don't worry about getting your shots blocked. St. John's is a smaller front court. They're a physical front court, and they're a good front court, but they're smaller. I think that they max out around 6'9", and UK took advantage of that. While the 30-20 points in the paint number is good for the Cats, how about 40-10 bench points for UK? How about the fast break points, 13-2, holding St. John's to just 2 fast break points? And if I'm a St. John's fan, I am frustrated with that, because similar to Kentucky, your half-court offense is booty cheeks. It's not good, St. John's. So you need to play faster. Rick Pitino knows that. He's smart enough to do that. And Mark Pope and UK, they deserve credit for not allowing St. John's to really ever get any momentum. Kentucky had some turnovers, and St. John's wasn't able to do too terribly much with it. They did have 23 points off turnovers to Kentucky's 15, but I wish I could break that down in the second half, because it just doesn't seem like it was as bad for UK. Let me go ahead and actually get the second half.
Kentucky, they took that stat. They took control in the second half with that stat. Yeah, the 40 bench points really stands out.
Just 5 turnovers. Just 5 turnovers in the second half for UK. Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to get that out there. But 11 in the first half, 5 in the second half. That's the Jaylen Lowe effect, folks.
Yeah, it's really that simple. When you have a point guard, you don't turn the ball over, and the ball tends to go where you want it to go, and you end up with decent shots. So that's the whole key to Jaylen Lowe being healthy. If he can do that, then you're going to get quality shots. You're not going to turn the ball over, and you're going to be in a much better position to win games. And sometimes it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that.
Real quick, if you don't mind me interjecting, I just wanted to say real quick, it's ESPN Louisville Plus, but that's not really why I came in. But I want to say just a little, I guess, on-air producing, because otherwise I could text you and who knows if you'd see it. Depending on what you want to do the rest of the show, if you want to play that sound, we can play that sound whenever. We can play it on the way out, whatever you want to do there. I'll let you all call the shots for how much longer you want to go from there.
I wouldn't mind putting it at the end of the podcast, but we may as well wrap this puppy up. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It's 50, 60 degrees even. And we got a little more show to go, and we'll read some more comments, but Zach and I are not going to sit through the press conference. But I wouldn't mind putting it at the end of the podcast potentially, but whatever you say, Justin.
Guys, if you're listening right now, that's the plan. That's what I'll do. We'll end up wrapping it whenever they end up wrapping it, and then stay after the outro music. I will play, first we'll play Mark Pope, and then I'll let you hear the Godfather, or I guess the keeper himself, Rick Pitino, and what he had to say following that game.
Yeah, one person says, at Rick's age, we may be expecting a bit much out of him. Yeah, he did not put together a great roster. Again, it's talented players. It's not a cheap roster, but Zach, they've got some major shooting issues as well, and they've got some point guard issues as well, because I'm starting to think Ian Jackson just isn't a true point guard.
It doesn't look that way. Yeah, Ian Jackson, his ball handling was not great. The passing is not what I would have expected of him. Their roster they are a more volatile roster than Kentucky even. We think Kentucky's a bad shooting team because they only made 4 for 16. Well, St. John's was 5 for 19, so they're essentially the same roster. It's just that they don't have the size that Kentucky has. Kentucky was better defensively than St. John's. There's a lot of limitations to this roster, and you would have thought that Pitino would have addressed that a little bit more this offseason. He chased R.J. Lewis out of town because he just shot the ball too many times against Arkansas and never really replaced him. So that's a team that, let's give Kentucky credit defensively, but St. John's is limited offensively. And it was just kind of a perfect combination for them. And I'm a little bit surprised that Rick didn't do a little bit more this offseason. That's a team that, there was talk about, okay, these might be the two most disappointing teams, or two of the most disappointing teams as far as the non-conference portion of the schedule is concerned. Well, it looks like Kentucky's going to end up getting back in the polls on Monday, and St. John's is going to drop out of the top 25. Now, they're probably in a better position as far as their conference is concerned, because the Big East outside of UConn's not great. But that's not a team that I'm worried about playing if Kentucky ends up rematching with them somewhere down the road as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned. I was expecting a little bit more out of St. John's than what we saw today. And the reality is their first half lead was more because Kentucky did not play well and because there was no Jaylen Lowe than it was really anything that St. John's was able to do. And then when Jaylen Lowe came back, then they were able to start turning St. John's over, and Kentucky was able to get out and run. And that was pretty much all she wrote.
That's why it's such a big deal.
I was never a supplier. Did I use drugs in the 80s with cocaine in Miami? Yes.
What was that referencing?
Pitino said, I had to find the drop, but all it said was, Pitino, I use cocaine. And that's it. I don't even remember that. But
yeah, I don't remember that either. As somebody that has heard a lot of Rick Pitino sound bites, that one, is he reading like a quote from somebody else, or is he talking about himself that he just did a little casual booger sugar?
I've got to imagine that's got to be out of context because I don't remember. That would have been something out of all the stuff Rick Pitino's done and that UK fans have held over his head. I would imagine that would be one of them. And
I was going to say
never
that,
crossed.
like, when he just casually mentioned his cocaine use in the 80s, like, he was fully a coach during that time. Like, that would have, I think, been a bit more of a scandal or talked about. So he must have been like reading an excerpt or taken out of context. You all would never do that at ESPN 680, right?
I'll get better rather than bitter.
There you go.
That's right. There we go, Rick.
You're on with Zach Cantrell, TJ Walker, the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show on ESPN Louisville Plus. Get it right, me. Get it right. ESPN Louisville Plus. Okay. This is going to be an interesting one, Zach Cantrell. Barnes Auto Service, basketball fixes, reliable repairs from bumper to bumper, barnesautoservice.com. Things you want to see fixed. Again, the three-point shooting is not getting better. I can't stress it enough. You're not just going to snap your fingers and have like this team make 15 threes on the reg. You can say turnovers. That needs to get better. But with Jalen Lowe playing, you would imagine that will be better. I think that it almost certainly will be. So, Zach Cantrell, what do you want to see fixed based on this nice win by the Cats?
Those are the two biggest things. I mean, obviously we can beat three-point shooting to death, but we're not going to do that anymore. The turnovers have to be better. You can't have 11 in the first half of the game. If you're going to have 16, spread it out a little bit more so that, look, if they're facing a better offensive team, they would have been down 15 at the half based on how they played offensively in that first half. So I think getting off to better starts, you don't want to have the intensity change for this team just because they get down 7 at halftime. You want to see that for 40 minutes. You want to see that from the jump. So I want to see this team get off to a better start. Free throw shooting was good tonight, 18 for 22. 13 assists out of 28 made shots. You'd like to see that ratio a little bit closer to 70% as far as assists are concerned. So I think the passing could be a little bit better. But I think the most important takeaway for me is I want to see a full 40 minutes out of this Kentucky team against a quality opponent. I don't want to see a 20-minute solid stretch in second halves like we saw the last 2 weeks. It's better than having nothing, but you don't want to have to wait till you're down 7 at halftime in order to do that, because there's going to come a game where you're against a pretty good SEC team that you're down 7 or you're down 10 at halftime, and you rally back in the second half, and it's not going to matter because you dug yourself too much of a hole. So start the game better.
Yeah, and if I want to be super picky, that was well said. I agree with all that passing. I do think with Jalen Lowe, it's going to help those things. I'd like to see them defend without fouling a little bit better. This was a game not made for that. St. John's lives by getting to the line. Rick Pitino, it's just the type of game that he usually likes to fault to. So, but that's been an issue for UK against quality opponents, is just foul trouble. Malachi had 4 today. Cam Williams did foul out. Mo Diabate got the boot with a second technical. Not that was a foul trouble sort of deal, but I would just say working on defending without fouling, but that's getting like really analytical into kind of like nerdy basketball talk. But besides that second half was it, baby. More of that, more wins. Cats will be rocking and rolling. SEC Conference standings delivered by Louisville ladder built to be above. Zach Cantrell, Louisville ladder is going to have to wait just a couple more games because we don't have SEC standings just yet.
No, we don't have SEC standings, but luckily January is going to be rolling around in the next couple of weeks, and we are going to have SEC games starting with January 3rd when they go to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. So we're finally going to get the best portion of the schedule, the conference portion of the schedule, and that's when I think we get to really start to see how good Kentucky is, because we talked about this. SEC has plenty of opportunities. It's not the just gauntlet that it was last year, where that was maybe the best conference for one season in the history of college basketball, or at least it's in the top 2 or 3. I don't think it's quite that this year. So I'm interested to see how they handle that road trip to Alabama. They do only have road trips to Auburn and Arkansas. So there's a couple of really good SEC teams that they're only going to play on the road. But there's obviously going to be a lot of opportunities for this team to continue to build up these quad one type of wins, where Indiana and St. John's move the needle a little bit. But if you can go beat Alabama and Alabama, that really moves the needle.
My underwear's soaked.
That's the next big one for the Cats, and no disrespect to Bellarmine, but that you're not going to get a hiccup in that game. And then yes, all eyes on Tuscaloosa, and if you win that, it really just feels like you're almost back to the preseason expectations. Maybe not national championship, but Final Four, assuming you stay healthy. But it's just like a seesaw. With Jalen Lowe, sky's the limit. Without him, it feels like you're not the basement of the SEC, but you're just going to be kind of an average basketball team, unfortunately. So we'll hope that he can stay healthy. UPS Jobs Top 25 Scoreboard. Join the shift at UPS Jobs. Apply today, upsjobs.com/worldport. It's a busy day of college basketball, Zach Cantrell.
It is a busy day of college basketball. Lots of top 25 games. Let's start with the games that have already happened. Number 9, Michigan State beats Oakland 79-70. Number 11, Louisville dominates Montana. They win at 94-54. Of course, Kentucky beats St. John's. So some of the games that are coming up later on, there's one going on right now. That's the second half of the CBS Sports Classic. Number 12, North Carolina leads Ohio State 34-31 at the half. Coming up at 5:30, right after that game on CBS, it'll be number 8, Houston, taking on number 14, Arkansas. That's going to be a really intriguing non-conference matchup. Kelvin Sampson against John Calipari. Darius Acuff has been fantastic. That would be a signature win for Arkansas.
It's not communism.
It is not communism. Number 23, Virginia takes on Maryland in a matchup that used to be an ACC conference game. Still feels like an ACC conference game. That'll be at 6 o'clock later. We'll have the Indy Classic, number 6, Purdue against number 21, Auburn at 6:30. That's only on Peacock if you have that. Number 3, Duke goes on the road to take on number 19, Texas Tech. That'll be an 8 o'clock game later on tonight. And then if you're still up at 10:30 and you need a little bit of late night basketball, you got number 1 Arizona taking on San Diego State in the Hall of Fame series in Phoenix. And that is your UPS Jobs Top 25 Scoreboard. I'll throw the last one in there. Miami beats Texas A&M 10-3. Miami moves on to the quarterfinals. They move to the Cotton Bowl of the College Football Playoff on New Year's Eve, where they will take on the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. So big win for Miami. Mario Cristobal finally wins a big game. How about that?
Hey, you know what? UK's defensive coordinator had a hell of a game, folks. Hell of a game from Bateman.
Sure did.
Wasn't his fault. Wasn't his fault that A&M lost, and now he can get to work in Lexington full time, and then you'll get to see Will Stein and UK's new offensive lineman coach. They will coach Oregon later today. When's that game? Is that 7:30?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
James Madison, Oregon. It's 7:30. One of those. It's on TNT later. I think it's 7:30.
And then
Give
right
me a big
now, the
hug
last
from behind.
the last I checked, Ole Miss whooping up on Tulane.
14-3 about 12 minutes ago in the second quarter. Tulane has moved the ball. They just have not capitalized when they've gotten the ball in Ole Miss territory.
Okay. What to watch presented by Boom Ba's Pizza and Watch Bar. Pizza, beer, sports up at Boom Ba's. Right, not too far from my house. Amazing pizza. We love Boom Ba's. You know what I'm going to say, Zach Cantrell. The Bears still suck. Go Pack Go. Let's make it a 2-0 day for your boy. I would absolutely be tickled. Don't like Chicago. That goes without saying, but I will be tuned in, Zach Cantrell. I'll be locked in for the pack attack against Chicago. I don't feel overly optimistic about that game, but I didn't feel overly optimistic about UK's game against St. John's. So that's maybe a good sign. Green Bay's probably going to get beat up in the trenches, and that worries me a little bit, especially obviously with no Micah Parsons. However, the Bears don't have a wide receiver. I think you may be playing wide receiver today for Chicago for the Gary Bears. So
that's right.
That's good. No, something's got to give in that one, but I desperately need a Green Bay win. The Packers need it if they want any chance to win the North. So go Pack Go. That's what I'm going to be watching, presented by Boom Balls. What about you, Zach Cantrell?
Yeah, I was going to go with that game. Obviously, there's 2 remaining playoff games. I don't expect the JMU-Oregon game to be super competitive. So I, too, am going to go with the Packers and the Bears. The Bears basically win the NFC North if they win that game. Detroit's 8-6. They're essentially out of the division mix. The Packers, I don't believe, are going to have Christian Watson either. So that's going to be a tough one. But if you are able to win that game, they're a half game up. They're basically 1.5 games up because they would hold the tiebreaker. I don't think it would come to that, obviously, because the tie just kind of throws a wrench into everything. But if the Packers get the win tonight, they are in a really good position to win the NFC North. So that's probably the game later on tonight. I'm also interested in that Houston-Arkansas basketball game. I think that's going to be very telling because we all know what Houston did last year, what kind of program they've been for the last 4 or 5 years. John Calipari at Arkansas last year stuck their way into the tournament as a 10 seed, got to the Sweet 16. This year they have a team that might be a legitimate contender to win the SEC. And if they win this game down in the Ozarks, they will certainly have proven that they are a contender in the SEC.
For what it's worth, game is actually in Newark, New Jersey. It's a bit of a homecoming game for Wagner and Billy Richmond. I'd go ahead and bet Arkansas in this one. Bet responsibly and all that good stuff. But I've got a couple coins on the Hogs. I'll be calling the Hogs tonight, sliding into Justin's DMs. But it's going to be a really, really. It's been a fun sports day. It will continue to be a fun sports day, and NFL slate tomorrow as well. So go Pack, go Big Blue. That was a great win, folks. It really was. This gets Kentucky back on track, and it almost makes you feel like you're going into SEC play wide-eyed, thinking that you can win the conference. Right back where we were at the start of the preseason. But you got to stay healthy. And with Jalen Lowe, with Jaden Quaintance, this is a different Kentucky basketball team. This will be it for me. You will have a post-game show, Bud Light post-game show with James Schriebel and some of the fellas after the Bellarmine game, but that will be on the round table with Round Daddy. Zach, I don't know if will you be participating in that or not?
No, I am back in Ohio, so as far as I know, I'm not participating in it.
Okay, gotcha. Good deal. Well, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody. God bless you all. Thank you so much for participating in the show. I can't wait for the callers to get back in, and we'll do that after the Alabama game. But for Zach Cantrell, I'm TJ Walker. Thank you to Justin as well. Very appreciative for all the work that he has put in. Jack Grossman for calling in. South End Josh, John, everybody. Everybody have a great holiday season. This is the Bud Light Kentucky Postgame Show.
All right, guys, JQ is going to give us our opening statement.
For sure. This is my first game back. It's been a long time in the making, and I couldn't have been here at all without the help of the people on my right. We've been here every day since June and just working every single day to the point where we even got catchphrases and stuff to kind of get us through every day. Coach Ville made them for us today for a game day just to celebrate all the work that we put in. So without these guys, Brandon Wells, Randy Connor, Coach McKill, I don't think I could have been here today. So all the things go to them for sure.
I'll just add to that just while we have these guys here. I've been in this game for a long time, and I've worked with a lot of guys, and I've never worked with a performance team that's this dedicated and has worked this much magic from an incredibly serious injury to what these guys did to get them back healthy today is pretty incredible. So B. Wells, Randy, Coach McClain, unbelievable job. Thank you, guys. Let's give it up for that. There's some immediate rule where you're not allowed to clap. That's a bad rule, for the performance team. Okay, fire away, guys.
Mark,
good old.
Mark, can you just talk about, obviously, the impact that Jayden has on this team and his performance tonight?
Well, we you guys know as much as I do. We just don't have a lot of data, right? And so we went in this game. JQ and I and his dad have had a lot of conversations, and this performance team had a lot of conversations over the last 7 months, and then especially over the last week, just about how this rollout could go, should go, would go, and I'm grateful for that whole team that gave us, JQ and me, they got him in a spot where we could just kind of go feel this experience out and figure it out, and so those guys got him ready, and he came in with a ton of courage. You come back from an injury like that, and there's a lot of room for you to question things, but JQ's just bold and brave and fearless to the point where it makes me nervous, but it was pretty special. So huge credit to him and the whole performance team.
Back here.
JQ, how difficult was it for you to sit out these past couple of months or so and watch these games? And then just how much fun was today? It looked like you were having a ball out there.
Yeah, I've been a competitor my whole life. I was always raised just competing. That's always what I wanted to do. So it always kind of sucked having to watch my team go and compete without me, not be able to help, just kind of be a voice on the sidelines. But I continue to trust my guys, and I feel like that trust and that I built just being here on the bench trying to support that way showed on the court. and it kind of translated overall. My guys trusted me, and we just were able to show out at a high level tonight. So I feel like it's been pivotal. It's been good.
Jayden, were you surprised with how you were able to impact this game and the minutes that you were able to play, and how did that feel?
I felt great. I felt like my condition was good. I feel like my guys had, again, prepared me really well in all the practices and months leading up to now. So I felt good on the court. I felt like if I was able to, have time to shine, I felt like I'd make it my moment. I feel like I did that tonight.
Mark, is there a time limit, like the plan going forward with JQ? Will he be limited in minutes in games and even in practices? And with Jaylen as well, will you kind of ration how much you use them in those practices?
Yeah, JQ is on the way back, so we'll, for us, it's going to be like, how do we feel in the morning? That's just going to be the way it is. Like his health is so good right now, but it's going to be a matter of how does he feel in the morning and where do we go from here. We have a huge game on Tuesday, and then we have a break where we have a whole solid week plus of practice where we'll be able to roll him back in. But I think the minute restriction will work its way out relatively quickly, and so these guys have done such a great job, and also JQ. I mean, if you talk to B. Wells and Randy, they'll be like they've never had a guy that has been willing to do every single thing they asked him to do precisely. With J-Lo, J-Lo has been petitioning to only be a game player, just free throws in practice, or maybe I've been petitioning for that. So we'll continue, just proceed with caution with him. He's just so tough, man. He's so tough, and you saw the impact that he can have on our team. I mean, you saw one half without J-Lo, and you saw one half with J-Lo. I'm voting for the half with J-Lo, actually, because he just changes everything we do. So, but we're going to proceed with caution. He's going to fight through this deal, and he's going to be great.
Coach, going into this game, obviously St. John's is a very analytical team. Can you just kind of talk about, discuss what kind of preparation you guys had going into this? Obviously, Jaylen coming in, playing for 7 seconds, and then taking on that injury and then coming back and playing the way he did. Can you just talk about the the mental kind of mindset that your team has and how you guys prepare to play? Your former head coach and how that's been for you guys.
Yeah. Well, I was incredibly proud of our group on the defensive side in the first half. I was really proud of us. I was really proud of us in the first half because we were pretty dysfunctional on the offensive side of the ball. But our guys, they never let it take away from their energy defensively. We made some mistakes defensively, but our toughness and energy was there the whole time. We probably fouled too much, or the whistle blew too much for us in the first half. But I was proud of our guys' fight to stay with it. And then, I don't know, you tell them about prep for the second half. What was that like? What was your locker room experience like at halftime and first half?
My locker room experience after the 7 seconds, sheesh, man, everything was going through my head. But I knew after a couple minutes that I was going to be good. I think seeing these guys every day, especially a guy like Jayden, they fight every day, and that's just our identity. We fight. We're a tough group, and I knew if I was even a little bit good to be able to play, I was going to give it a go. I told these guys at halftime, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to live with it. So, like I said to everybody, like no matter what day it is, every day I step on the court, it's a risk, but I know what comes with it, and my guys know what comes with it, but at the end of the day, man, I'm a competitor, and I just want to go out there and play.
Mark, following the game against Indiana, you said we wedged to win games. How important was that aspect of the game for you today, and overall, just as your team continues to go?
Yeah, it's really important for us. We're going to become a really explosive offensive team. We're going to. It's been a little bit hard. It's been a hard path for us for 100 different reasons. But in the meantime, it's such a massively important part of helping us be functional offensively, and our guys are willing to do it. We're blessed with this cohort of bigs that are willing to just go seal for 30 seconds. They just put a body on a body and just seal and duck and Gortat and roast, and so we have some space to go there, and it's going to be it's a stabilizer, something that you can fight for every single game, whether you have rhythm or don't. It's really important.
Rafael Hayes with a 3-point conversion. As fan base is starting to call Atlanta Catlanta. Last time you were here, you defeated Duke, and then of course today. Is Atlanta starting to be a special place for Kentucky?
Sure, I'm not gonna lie. I was in the hotel yesterday and I didn't even know what Catlanta was, and I asked him, "What is that?" And so, the way that I know now for sure, these fans out here are amazing, and it did definitely look like Catlanta out there today. It felt like a home game, and that just goes to show how great of a fan base we have and the support that we have, no matter what we're going through. And, it's amazing to see, and I've never been around anything like this, and I'm going to try and soak it up as much as I can because I know that no matter what level, I don't think anything is ever going to touch this.
This Catlanta is super special to me. From when I was playing in Kentucky, and we were playing the SEC tournament here, and had those incredible moments in the Georgia Dome, and to last year to this year, this fan base, this is like a second home for us, and I'm really grateful that we got to come down here and send everybody home happy because they're incredible that they show out like this. We had so many people flying in from all over the country for this game. And I'm happy for all of our fans that they get to celebrate.
Mark, you said a few weeks ago stories write themselves here in college basketball. How well was this story written that against your former team, JQ comes back, or your former coach, JQ comes back, Jaylen comes out after the second half, people speculating of team chemistry, and these guys are celebrating together. Just this story starting to look like for this team, these guys together.
Well, we're writing it, and I think we have the right guys to do it. I'm really confident in this group. Listen, I felt the same way every single day. I have so much confidence in this staff and in this group of players. It's just been slow for us to figure out and embrace who exactly we are. And we're in that process, and we're in the early stages of that process. This is an important day for us because we now with back-to-back games, our guys have shown some real resilience and some grit and some physicality and some smash mouth basketball that sometimes is ugly, but sometimes is beautiful, like it was in moments in the second half of this game. So, I love the journey of the season, and even when it's bad, like I love the pain of it because it makes these nights awesome. And I think this group has a chance to have a lot more of these nights. I think it does. I think we do. This is the St. John's team. Come on, man. I might know Coach better than very few people know him better than me in the sense of how tough he is and how competitive he is and how he gets his team to play hard. And for our guys to stand up to that and on a night where we are pretty dysfunctional and J-Lo takes a vacation for the first half. I'm kidding.
Let's just do two
but
more.
It was great. It was great for us.
Both of the players, Jayden, you obviously had some time to watch this team from the sideline this season. You've seen what they look like with Jaylen in and without him. What does he add to this team specifically offensively? And after that, Jaylen, for yourself, just what do you feel like you bring to the team when you're on the court that maybe is missing when you're not out there?
I feel like Dale brings like a toughness and like a leadership to the team that we need. Like whenever he's on the court, he's telling everybody where to be. He's making sure everybody's in the right spots. He's making sure everybody's making the right cuts. Offensively and defensively, he's a vocal leader, and he's like an effort leader. Like you can tell that he's giving everything that he has. So he's been super huge for us offensively and defensively, and again, it showed tonight.
Last one.
I'll answer.
Sorry.
I mean, I'll just say that I just listen to these guys. They know the amount of work I put in. They know how much I care about them. And, I just do what they tell me to do. They want me to go out there and play some defense. I'm going to go play the hardest defense I ever played in my life. I just got a bunch of guys that I love and I trust and I'd do anything for. And then, after that, my game just speaks the rest. I'll just feed off the energy that those guys are feeding back into me.
Sorry about that.
Mark, I asked you Thursday, what would it mean to you to beat Coach Pitino? And you said, well, I want to beat him like I want to beat any other coach. But now that it's not a hypothetical and a reality, does it feel any different to you?
It's just, this is just not about me. Like, I appreciate the question, but the only thing I care about is, like, our team growing. I love Coach. And so, but I'm happy for our guys. I'm happy for BBN, and that's more than enough. And thanks for asking the question.
Thank you guys. Anything else? Check with Deb.
Yeah. We'll just give a shout out to our volleyball team who's about to go win a national championship. Come on, Cats. It's incredible what these guys are doing. We're trying to follow in their footsteps, man, of how competitive and resilient and refuse to lose they are. It's pretty awesome. So cheer on the Cats.
Coach,
Thank you, guys.
It's not raining.
Yeah, this was an expensive shoot, but it was worth it.
All right, we'll have St. John's here in a minute.
They're a different basketball team. Makes people better. It's very tough to guard and pick and rolls. But I think Mark did a brilliant thing. You know, he came in the season thinking he had this great shooting team, and it's obvious that it's probably just an average shooting team. And he said, I'm going to change the whole mindset. We're going to be a physical team. We're going to be a tough team. And they totally changed their personality of who they are. And I think that's a brilliant move by Mark. That's all he talked about was physicality and toughness. So I think he made a great change, but I think the injury guys have come back, makes them a much better basketball team. We played a brilliant defensive game in the first half, disappointed that we keep getting dominated in the front court, on the backboard especially. Last year we were one of the leading offensive rebounding teams in the country, and this year we're just not getting it done in the offensive glass. So I congratulate Kentucky, terrific game, and we move on to Harvard in 2 days.
2-4 now against power conference teams. How disappointed are you?
Say it again.
It's 2-4 for you guys against power conference teams. Are you disappointed with the non-conference, how you guys have played?
I'm disappointed in any loss, but our job is to get better. We are a decent basketball team, nothing more than decent, and we've got to take decent to good, and that means you've got to play 2 great halves defensively. I think you can see that Jalen Lowe, him coming in, and we don't have somebody coming in like him. That's our fault as a staff for not having a big-time point guard that makes people better. Now, I will say that outside of the fact that he never blocks out, Ian Jackson is improving, getting better and better, but that's not his natural position. But he's doing a good job of getting better, but that's a big factor with us right now, and that's our fault as a staff not having a big-time physical point guard. So it's something that we look at, but we've got to make sure that we do it with other players. But more so than that, I think our front court is not. We have a thing called goes, where in practice, how many times the 3, 4, and 5 go to the glass. We want our 4s and 5s to go 80% of the time. And last year we were about 70. This year we're about 40%. So we're not going to the offensive glass and getting the missed shots back. So we got to keep on working on that. So to answer your question, no, I'm not disappointed. That's not my job to be disappointed or elated. My job is tomorrow to make the team better.
Rick, what did you see from Jaden Quaintance for them, particularly in the second half, and how he impacted the game?
Well, obviously he's got a great reputation. He's long. I think their length really bothered us in the first half. But we did a really good job. Sometimes with statistics, what doesn't show up, because you look at it and we didn't shoot real well, but then you got to also look at the fact that we took 32 free throws and got to the line. So that's part of offense as well. It doesn't go into the shooting percentage. So that's one of the strengths of our team. We're getting to the foul line and making our free throws.
Rick, can you just talk about the emotion going into this game, given your history with Mark and obviously the University of Kentucky?
You know, if this was at Rupp, I think I'd have a lot of emotion, but I didn't have any emotion at all. I'm really proud of Mark. I think he's done a brilliant thing with changing the whole mindset of the team. Let's be tough. Let's be physical. Doesn't surprise me he makes the change. That's why he's a Rhodes Scholar candidate.
Rick, you mentioned Lowe a couple times coming back for Kentucky in the second half. What's the biggest difference that he gives them, especially on the offensive end when he's leading them?
Well, he's very difficult to guard in a pick and roll, and he makes plays going to the rim like a tiny Archibald. You know, he can take the contact and still make shots. He can still make plays. So he's a really good pick and roll guy. They're a totally different basketball team when he's on the court.
Coach, I believe you only had 2 fast break points. Was it a point of emphasis?
3 for 7.
Was a point of emphasis to get fast break points, and what was it that caused you not to be able to?
Oh, we tried, but they did a good job of getting back.
Coach, you just kind of talking about the physicality of Kentucky, kind of going into that. There was a little bit of foul trouble on you guys going into the second half there. Can you just kind of talk about, Jaden Quaintance coming back? I know that it was mentioned earlier, but not only that, but how, it almost seemed that his presence kind of made the impact instantly. Can you kind of talk about how that maybe led to some foul trouble, the double tech there? I believe it was at the end of the first half, and just kind of explain or talk about that a little bit?
I think he's a big-time basketball player, and they're only going to get stronger with him and Lowe. But I think you all need to learn a little bit of a lesson as writers, because you're expecting Kentucky to be this great basketball team with all those injuries. So you all need to learn a lesson, because you can't be a great basketball team without two of your best players, with no point guard, no big man. So I think everybody really exaggerates one game or two games or three games. Kentucky got blown out, and usually Kentucky doesn't get blown out of any game, okay? But you have to look at it when they come back, two gigantic pieces. So they're going to be a very good basketball team. They're going to have to keep playing smash-mouth basketball and play like that physical team. And I give Mark all the credit in the world, because he's a big believer in finesse, big believer in shooting the three, and he said, hey, it's not working, let's change, man. So I give Mark a lot of credit. I'll take one more, okay, guys? We're going to get out of here.
Right. The point guard situation for the team, has kind of been a thing since even before the regular season started. You sort of started out by telling us that you didn't need a point guard because of the type of offense that you guys ran.
Well, Roger, what would you like me to say? I'm waiting for Tiny Archibald to come back as. That's what you have to do when you don't have one. You make a positive from a negative and say we got to do it collectively as a team. So what you want me to just complain and get their confidence down? Is that what you're looking for?
No, I'm just looking.
Well, that's what it is. We don't have it, so we've got to make sure the other guys can bring it up, do the job. That's our fault in recruiting. We lost out on 4 different big-time point guards that we went after, and we got to make the best of a situation by collectively other people handling the ball and bringing it up. I wasn't saying that it was a rosy painting because of having no point guard. It's just that's what we had to do. So I'm not going to get negative and just say what we don't have. We expected Dylan Darling to be a backup, and we lost all our recruits in that position, and we gained another position. So just got to make the best of it when that happens. It's like an injury. You have a key injury. Kentucky has a key injury to Lowe. And what do they have to do? They have to just make up for it. Now he comes back, they become much stronger. We got to just become much stronger I can't do anything about the point guard spot. But we can do a better job with the backboard. We can do a better job of executing, blocking out, because we gave up 16 so many times. Like Ian's getting much better, but he refuses to block out, refuses on switches, and that's costing us a little bit. But he's getting much better in all the other areas. So I think, as he keeps improving, if we can get some wins, we'll have ourselves a respectable point guard.
Do you think that the way that the team responds to giving up a lead is something less than what you would expect them to do?
I think our front court was beat down physically a little bit tonight, and we got in foul trouble, and we just didn't have the numbers to keep up with that when we got in foul trouble. But they're a great group of guys. I love them, completely love them. And then are they a great team? No, they're not a great team. But we can be a good team, and we can get better and better and better. I don't pay attention to how everybody rates it. This is the problem with today's world is you got 8 new players. What can you do with them to make them better by the end of the year? Next year we'll have 8 new players. You just got to put the team together and see what happens. But I think by the end of the year, we'll be a formidable, good basketball team. Right now we're not, but I think by the end of the year we can become that. I want to wish you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Great seeing old faces. And I pull for Mark, and I want nothing but the best. Take care, guys.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Pitino,